it took me 20 years of really quite hard work to establish an hourly rate of just $40 as a musician and a music teacher. Then I came online and increased my income by 400% in just 6 months. I work less. I'm way more into what I'm doing. But most importantly, I'm serving people on a much, much deeper level. And there was a compass that I followed to make that transition in my life and get to this point where I'm at now, which is effectively a heaven realm of my own creation. So I want to talk to you today about that compass and how, in fact, it belongs to you just as much as it belongs to me. This compass is natural, this guide to the good life, if you will. It is something very natural and something which you can access. All I did was I removed stuff from my life and mind that revealed this guiding force in my life. First, I want to talk about how things are usually done and why that's such a shame. We're all in transaction as human beings. But many of those transactions, especially going back in time, are win-lose transactions. So in order for you to gain, someone else has to lose. Or in order for someone else to gain, you have to lose. You're probably aware of many times in your life that this has taken place. As I'm speaking right now, many times where you felt you'd been scammed out of your money, that the thing that you bought wasn't really worth the price tag. This is the most common type of win-lose arrangement, but it happens in purely social transactions as well. Everyone has had that friend who has taken more than they give. Those so-called energy vampires that we've all come across at one time or another. So everyone has many, many examples of win-lose arrangements in their lives. And when I consider how common these win-lose arrangements are in life, I feel shocked that we've gotten this far as a species. If we wind the clock back far enough, many people would lose their lives as a result of certain transactions that they were involved in. You know, before organized law was established, people would just fucking kill each other, you know? You wind up owing someone money and you can't pay it back, and they'll just come round with the boys and slit your throat. We see this dramatized in certain TV shows. Whenever my wife and I watch a show that's set back in history and, you know, everyone's dying left, right, and center for all kinds of reasons that just seem crazy to us now. Or you end up indebted to someone and they basically own you. The sense of owning people was way more common. I mean, of course, there was slavery, but also in situations where people didn't necessarily think of themselves as slaves, you were very much more the property of the local leader back in time. I'm thinking about like Dark Ages England, you know. The king would have a disagreement with another king, and now you're going to war. That's it. So you don't have a say in the matter. If you try to resist, you're a deserter and you're killed anyway. So your life wasn't really your own. And this is, you know, where we've all come from. This is why the win-lose arrangement until now has not seemed like such a big deal. This is why mainstream models of work are what they are. Most people don't want to be doing what they do every day. And that's super normalized. But when we call it out, it sounds fucking depressing. Most people wake up, hit snooze, get in the car, drive to work through rush hour, and do shit they hate all day, 5 days a week, and then are just desperately trying to reclaim some enjoyment from life on the weekends, which very often means abusing alcohol, such that when Monday morning rolls around, they're hungover, and the cycle repeats. Is this not modern slavery? It's going to depend on your outlook. On the one hand, we have things way better than we did in the Dark Ages. On the other hand, there is a future, there's a present that is a way better deal. And it's available to you, it's available to everyone you know. And it's made possible by technology. It's made possible by certain inventions that have come around over the past 20 years. And you will find your way to it by this compass that I'm about to tell you about, this compass that guided me from what was my own business, but felt much more like a kind of slavery, much more like that day job, that typical image of someone in the rat race, as opposed to what I'm doing now, where I really just come and talk about what I'm most interested in. Help people with their problems and earn way more money than I ever thought was possible. So of course I'm talking about the win-win arrangement. And it's not that this is a brand new thing, but what it is now is way more available to you and everyone else than it ever has been in the past. Largely due to the internet. Like I said in the beginning of this video, it was when I came online that I was able to increase my income by 400%. This is largely due simply to the scale of the marketplace. Previously, I was working locally, and I remember a pivotal moment for me was looking at the blue circle over the map in my Google Ads account that was telling me I would reach, I think it was like 100,000 people a week or something like that. Sounds like a lot until you compare that to how many people you can reach online. You see, I had that blue circle over the Google map because this was the distance that people would be willing to travel to me for music lessons. I had to have a studio with my drum kits set up because, I mean, you can teach drums online, but it's not like being in the room. You know, really you want to be in the room playing live with the student for a lot of the process. So I had to have that physical premises. So my business was not only limited in terms of location, in terms of geography, but also I was selling my time for money. And we only have so much time in a day, so much time in a week. So naturally, my income was limited there as well. There was another problem in all of that, which is that I wasn't really helping people with big problems. Like, some people will say music saved my life, right? But it's pretty rare that they actually mean it. We can have very deep and meaningful experiences with music. It's a wonderful art form, don't get me wrong. But nowadays, I'm helping people directly with anxiety, with procrastination, with depression, with suicidal ideation, with feeling lost, with not knowing what to do with their lives, meaninglessness, purposelessness, all of the deepest mental, emotional problems that we can encounter as human beings, which have been handled most effectively, in my view, by the wisdom traditions of the East over the past 2,500 years, maybe longer, depending on which tradition you're looking at. These are the traditions that I went and studied. I then combined that with Western self-help and psychology to come up with something that really works. So these are the problems that I help people with now. This is much more important to most people than learning how to play the drums. For that reason, in this win-win arrangement, I get paid in proportion to the win that I help people realize in their own lives. So this is why not only am I justified, but I feel good about charging a higher fee. You have no doubt in your head a bunch of expertise that will help people with big problems in their lives. This is 100% what you should be talking about. And the compass that's going to lead you through all of the challenges involved with doing that is the compass of mutual benefit. I'm talking about the win-win arrangement as the physical manifestation of this. But the desire to see mutual benefit in the world, the inclination to realize what's good for yourself and for others, is a natural process, is a compass which you can rely upon when you get out of your own way. This is why I was able to make that rapid increase in my income in such a short time, is because I'd already fallen all the way to the bottom of the mindfulness rabbit hole. I'd already eradicated from my experience all of the blockages that keep people stuck in limited ways of thinking, that keep people looking at a blank page when they're trying to write content, struggling to speak to the camera, that keep people in analysis paralysis around what business to start, that keep people feeling self-doubt around their ability to help other people with problems that they themselves have already fixed. Now, there's practical elements to all of this, of course. I've written a 240-step guide, blow by blow, on how to get yourself set up online to help people, and how to identify what it is that you're capable of helping people with. But this first step is for you to reveal this compass of naturally arising mutual benefit, to realize that your default mode is kindness, is generosity, is basic goodness. We all know that it doesn't feel good to rip someone off. The only people who are capable of ripping anyone off are people who are essentially confused, distracted by warped ideas around what satisfaction is and how to get it. If we take the most extreme example, right, we take Adolf Hitler. The only reason he did what he did, the only reason anyone does anything, is because they think it will lead to satisfaction. That is the root motivation at the basis of all of our behaviors. Of course, Hitler was confused about what satisfaction really looks like. He thought he had to kill a bunch of people in order to feel good. Well, we know that's just psychopathic behavior. We know the dude was basically crazy. Capable, but crazy. Insane. Psychopathic. And so terrible, terrible things are done. This is really like the ultimate kind of win-lose arrangement, right? Only he's not even really winning. So when you get in touch with this natural force of the inclination to do good in the world, when you're no longer distracted by selfish motivations, seeking gratification in your activities, as opposed to being in touch with that purer, more dependable kind of joy, the warm, fuzzy feeling that comes of being generous, of being kind, of serving people. As long as you're distracted from that, you will be confused. Hopefully not to the extent that Hitler was, but you will be confused about how to get your satisfaction. Now, most people I talk to these days about this stuff, they get it. You probably understand what I'm talking about here, that it feels good to serve people. What you may not be aware of is that this can be your livelihood in 2024. You do not any longer have to compromise on what you do with your time in order to earn enough money to survive. There is a transition. If you're someone watching this who is in a 9-to-5 job and you're doing that typical societal model of how to run your life, there will be a transition period. I'm coaching people through this right now. It's easier than you might think. I'll leave a link to that 240-step guide that I put down in the description here. It is easier than you think. It is easier than you think. So I want to suggest a journaling exercise for you that will help you to get in touch with this ultimate compass for growth, this compass of mutual benefit. 4 very simple questions for you to consider. So you might want to make a note of these. First of all, what transactions in your life did you lose from? What win-lose arrangements were you on the wrong side of? Perhaps you were in a job that underpaid you for years. Perhaps you're in a job like that right now. Perhaps you got conned by someone and they stole money from you. Perhaps you bought something where there was a promise made that was not fulfilled, which is essentially legal theft. You know, people find ways around making vague promises, or even making explicit promises and then running off with people's money. It happens, right? Maybe it's happened to you. Maybe social transactions like we were talking about earlier, friends who have taken advantage of you, friends. Think about win-lose arrangements that you've been on the wrong side of. Write those down. Next, question number 2. What transactions did you win in? What did you buy where you felt like you got more than was promised? Or that you got more than what you paid for? What friends have you had in your life who you felt nourished by? What other events have occurred in your life where you really felt like you gained from the transaction? Okay, that's question number 2. Question number 3, what transactions did you and the other person win in? So we're talking about social transactions here. That could be a purchase, right? A purchase is still technically a social transaction, even if it's just a product that you bought. Someone had to make that product, right? So what did you buy that you felt was worth more than you paid for it? What product was life-changing for you that you would have paid way more for and still felt good about the purchase? Have you been involved in any educational arrangements where you felt like you got way more from the teacher or coach than what you paid them? What friendships have you been in that continue to this day? Maybe you have a solid, intimate relationship. Maybe you have a strong marriage where it's very clearly a win-win arrangement. And then finally, having spent some time studying these different kinds of arrangements in your life, I'd like you to think about question number 4. How can you build your life and business around win-win arrangements? This is going to begin by you identifying what is the most valuable thing that you could give to someone. For me, the most valuable thing I can give to someone is talking about this stuff, guiding them through everything that I'm talking to you about in this video and helping them to set their life up where everything they do is a win-win arrangement. Everything. For me, I came online first of all and I wanted to talk about mindfulness because I'd seen it save my mother's life, I'd seen it save my cousin's life, I'd seen it benefit several other students in profound ways, and I decided I wanted to reach more people with this. I wanted to help more people. Now, I'd actually been trying to make this work on a donation basis for 2 years before I ever came online and actually started a business around this whole thing. People don't really understand how donations work in the West. This was a kind of a relic of a bygone age from the East. This kind of thing still takes place in the East somewhat. You know, people donate to the temples and they learn the wisdom from the monks. Well, we don't have monks here. We don't have temples. We don't do things like that. We use money as a store of value. And we hopefully all engage in win-win transactions with our money so that we can all grow, so that we can all move up, so that we can all improve ourselves and others and move toward the global utopia that I have in mind, where everyone's forgotten what a win-lose arrangement looks like. So I encourage you to think deeply on this, contemplate this. What is your great contribution to humanity? What is it that you could give to people as a product or service that you would feel inspired to over-deliver on? That you don't even care what the money is. Like I said, I was teaching mindfulness for 2 years on a donation basis. Many people that I was teaching this stuff to in the beginning didn't pay me a penny. I still felt good about it. So building a business around that thing for me is a no-brainer, because I have no problem doing what all the best business teachers recommend, which is over-delivering to a factor of 10x. I'm working on a course right now that is like the kitchen sink of everything I know, the combination of mindfulness and business that represents the full extent of my knowledge. I will give at least 10 times as much as people pay for in that course, but I'm only able to do that because this is the shit that I want to talk about. This is the shit that I would help people with for free. This is how we win in 2024 in this new marketplace, which is of a scale that we can't even comprehend. And this is the only reason that this is possible. I wouldn't be able to do this locally. I wouldn't be able to find enough people in my local area that were interested in what I'm talking about. But online, I only need a handful of people in Australia, a handful of people in Canada, a handful of people in France, a handful of people in Mexico, and I'm good. You can be too. So I hope this has been useful. Do contemplate deeply those 4 journal questions. I'll include those in the description as well. And I'll talk to you next time.